Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his brow as he surveyed the massive gorge that cut through the alien landscape. Like a wound in the planet's flesh, the crimson sky of Kepler 442b cast an eerie glow over the construction site, where dozens of Zephyrian workers moved with their characteristic fluid grace, their translucent blue skin shimmering in the alien sunlight. Human, called Vextar, the lead Zephyrian architect, his voice carrying the melodic quality typical of his species. Your primitive methods are adequate, but we require efficiency. The Galactic Council expects this bridge completed within 2 rotations. Marcus nodded without looking up from his blueprints. He had grown accustomed to such dismissive comments during his 3 months on this remote outpost world. To the Zephyrians, humans were little more than sturdy laborers, useful for heavy lifting and basic construction, but lacking the sophisticated engineering prowess of the galaxy's more advanced species. The bridge was meant to be a marvel of Zephyrian engineering, spanning the 5-kilometer gorge that separated the planet's main settlement from the rich mining deposits on the far side. The original design called for an elegant suspension structure, all flowing curves and anti-grav supports that would have impressed even the most jaded council inspectors. But Marcus had quietly made modifications. While the Zephyrians focused on aesthetics and used their advanced materials that relied heavily on energy matrices and quantum stabilizers, Marcus had insisted on incorporating what he called redundant systems, steel reinforcements, concrete foundations that went deeper than the blueprint specified, and a truss design that could distribute weight in multiple directions. Wasteful, Vextar had sneered when he discovered the changes. Your species always overbuilds. Such inefficiency. Marcus had simply shrugged and continued his work. He had learned long ago that trying to explain human engineering philosophy to aliens was futile. They saw his reinforced foundations as primitive, his multiple load-bearing systems as paranoid overcompensation. They couldn't understand that humans had learned their engineering lessons through millennia of bridges collapsing, buildings falling, and structures failing when they were needed most. The bridge was completed ahead of schedule, a graceful arch of alien materials supported by Marcus's hidden network of human engineering. The opening ceremony drew dignitaries from across the sector, and Marcus stood quietly in the background as Vextar received accolades for the purely Zephyrian design. For 3 months, the bridge served its purpose flawlessly. Trade flowed freely between the settlement and the mines, and the Zephyrians basked in the praise of the Galactic Council. Marcus continued his work on other projects, largely ignored and dismissed as just another human laborer. Then the HFY came. The first warning came from the outer sensor arrays. A massive fleet of the insectoid warriors had dropped out of hyperspace and was approaching the planet. The HFY were known throughout the galaxy as ruthless conquerors who specialized in rapid planetary assaults. Their strategy was always the same: overwhelm the defenders with superior numbers and advanced weaponry. The planetary defense grid activated immediately, but everyone knew it wouldn't hold for long. The real problem was evacuation. The settlement needed to move its population and critical resources across the gorge to the mining facility, which was built into the mountains and could serve as a defensive stronghold. That's when they discovered the HFY's tactical brilliance. Their first wave wasn't aimed at the settlement or the defense grid. It was a surgical strike against the bridge's quantum stabilizers and anti-grav supports. The elegant Zephyrian technology failed catastrophically under the electromagnetic pulse weapons of the insectoid warriors. In minutes, what should have been the colony's lifeline became a death trap. The bridge's sophisticated systems flickered and died, and the graceful structure began to sag under its own weight. Panic spread through the settlement as 10,000 colonists realized they were trapped on the wrong side of an impassable gorge. But Marcus's modifications held. While the anti-grav supports failed and the quantum matrices collapsed, the steel reinforcements he had embedded throughout the structure continued to bear the load. His concrete foundations, driven deep into the bedrock that the Zephyrians had dismissed as unnecessarily deep, kept the bridge anchored. The redundant truss system he had built into the design redistributed the stress as the alien materials failed around it. The bridge didn't collapse. It transformed. What had been an elegant display of advanced technology became a grimly functional span held together by human stubbornness and over-engineering. It was no longer beautiful, but it was unbreakably strong. The evacuation began immediately. 10,000 colonists streamed across the scarred but stable bridge, while HFY forces advanced on the settlement. The insectoid warriors, confident that their first strike had eliminated the escape route, took their time organizing for the final assault. They were wrong. By the time the Krexhai reached the gorge, the last of the colonists had crossed safely to the mining complex. But the bridge still stood, and now it served a different purpose entirely. The narrow span, never intended as a military choke point, became exactly that. The Krexhai army, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, found themselves forced to cross single file across a structure that human engineering had made impossible to destroy. Their heavy assault vehicles couldn't risk the crossing. Their aerial units found themselves easy targets in the confined space above the gorge. For 6 days, the defenders held the bridge. Every assault was funneled into a killing field that Marcus's wasteful over-engineering had accidentally created. The structure absorbed bombing runs, energy weapon strikes, and even a direct assault from Krexhai battle mechs. It bent, it scarred, it lost pieces, but it held. On the 7th day, the Galactic Council fleet arrived to break the siege. They found the Krexhai army stalled at the gorge, unable to advance past a bridge that should have fallen days earlier. In the aftermath, as the alien dignitaries surveyed the battle damage, Vextar approached Marcus with something approaching reverence. The Zephyrian's elegant features showed confusion and grudging respect. "Human," he said quietly. "Your redundant systems, your over-engineering, we do not understand, but we are grateful." Marcus looked out at the scarred bridge, still standing despite everything the universe had thrown at it. It was ugly now, functional rather than beautiful, held together by human paranoia and the simple refusal to trust that anything would work the first time. "We call it learning from our mistakes," he replied. "You build things to work perfectly. We build them to keep working when everything goes wrong." As he walked away, Marcus couldn't help but smile. They had called him just a builder. But when it mattered, his bridge had held back an entire army. Sometimes being human was enough.